Alright, time for another Ubisoft game, and I can mention this is made by Housemarque, a team that...
Ubisoft?
yes, publisher Ubisoft. But
Team
here's
based
the
in
thing.
Finland.
Here's the thing. This is, apparently from what I checked, this is a game that's very out of their comfort zone. Normally they're specialized in space shooters. This is a Metroidvania, actually. This is a very particular game. I will be able to explain a bit later because there's only a couple of bits where there's actual plot going on with a narrator talking about it. But most of this run will be basic about gameplay only. This is not a very story-driven game. Although there's a bit of an interesting trivia that I will mention later about this. So yeah,
Sorry.
it's a very similar in a way to your traditional Castlevania Symphony of the Night clone. Character with a sword weapon. You move, you jump, you use that weapon. You have special weapons that you acquire. You have to do backtracking. You have a map that you can scour, collectibles, all that sorts of good jazz. Yes, Pedro?
Well, Taylor, Housemarque has never really tried that.
Oh, here we go.
Before Returnal, so...
This is a story that takes place in South America, I think.
Medicine could not help him. Visions drove him on.
Oh, what a horrible day to have a
shaman
curse.
He sought, a teacher and a mystic. The Pal Kaba, who could make sense of these visions, who would heal him. He found the seer, collapsed at his fireside, and listened as he was told the ancient truth.
Oh my god, what a starry night!
Stories of a great wheel.
Yeah, this symbolism of this game is centered around a wheel and two aspects that are representation of these two goddesses. One of the light, one of the darkness. But despite that, they're not like juxtaposed against each other. Instead, they fuck shit up.
Imprisoned by a hero, a soul waiting through the ages, eager to be reborn.
So maybe that hero could be our protagonist?
His time has come again. But so has theirs.
Oh no.
So basically, an ancient evil is about to be awakened, go stop it, dipshit.
Basically, ancient evil that hero long ago sealed
The
away.
story
You're the new
begins.
hero, so seal it up again. Castlevania, yada
So,
yada yada.
we start with our hero, which has yellow tattoos. Again, the game goes for a very stylistic vibes. You know those kind of platformers that always had that kind of level where your character is a silhouette and everything is stylized, like Donkey Kong Country Returns, DuckTales Remastered, Rayman Origins, and so on. This game is entirely built around this type of contrast. The movement is very fast, actually. I was surprised the first time I played it. But it's very responsive, too. This game is actually very fun to control and play. You have basic movements, a wall jump, very similar to Prince of Persia, mind you. There you go. A simple health bar. Spikes do not insta-kill you like in Mega Man, thankfully. This type of collectibles with our masks, I will show later on what we do. And yeah, basically that's pretty much it. For the time being, you're mostly doing just platforming while you wait to acquire your weapon.
TL, stop teabagging.
That's what they do while waiting. Also, pardon me, I got fucked up a bit during these, and I think one of the next starts. Yes, go on, Pedro.
So, Teo, considering we've already been told by the developers that Returnal is gonna still retain the arcade nature that their games like Resogun and Super Stardust HD are known for, does this game have any sort of the same thing? Does this game retain
I'm
anything?
glad you asked, because the game is actually, it's not going to be apparent now. The game is takes a lot of inspiration from Ikaruga, of all things, in how it juxtaposes two different light colors. Our character for now is neutral on that front. It has a neutral stance. Soon enough, it will acquire two different powers, light magic colored by blue, and red magic colored by, shadow magic colored red. And depending on which magic he has equipped at that time, it will affect how traps affect him, and he can hit or not enemies and how much damage he deals to them. Meaning that you need to switch stances on very quickly if you want to pass most of these obstacle courses soon enough. which is an aspect that apparently the Ikaruga had a lot. So that kind of vibe from the space shooting genre is still there. It's just applied to a Metroidvania context, which is pretty neat. But here's also one big kicker. The writer of this is the story is not very complex, but it's serviceable. I can tell you that. The writer of this is called Richard Dansky. This guy has worked pretty much only for Ubisoft. He has done most of the Tom Clancy stuff, a couple of the Far Cry games, I think. But get this, he was also a script editor for Haze, and I didn't knew that until now, actually. So that's pretty neat, I guess.
So
there you go. Every time you get a power up, you get these minor cutscenes and an explanation on what you do. This basically our main weapon and only one that you get is a two-hand broadsword that our character actually swings with ease, like Gatsu.
So, if I recall correctly, Outland, this game came out, it was a modest success, apparently?
Yes, it wasn't. It was a budgeted title, something very small that Housemarque did for Ubisoft. I think it was actually their first, and I think right now only multi-plat game. I'm gonna check in the meantime just to be sure.
If I remember correctly, this was the game they made in between Super Stardust HD and Resogun.
It was digital. In case you're wondering, Jova, it was a period where Ubisoft was releasing a bunch of digital-only titles, very budgeted, small. For example, there was this. There was one where you control people with masks. I forgot what it's called. There was this World of Mine, I think it's called, which was a survival horror. Very similar to The Last of Us, but more in black and white. And there was this too. Okay. Housemarque did in 2002. Actually, no, Housemarque did started in 1993. They did a couple of games for the Amiga and Atari. Then they did stuff for MS-DOS, two for PC, one for Xbox, one for the Gizmondo, as I mentioned the other time. Only recently they started working more closely to Sony. But no, this was actually their only stuff that they did with Ubisoft, if I recall correctly. Yes, sir?
Which is interesting, because when did this game come out?
2011. It received a Steam port in 2014, and it's still there if you want to know.
So this game is 10 years old.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does that have a PS3 anymore?
Well, I can tell you this, Dweebs. The Steam version runs pretty decently, so even if you don't have a powerful PC, you can actually run this effectively. And I can tell you, being a Metroidvania and all, the keyboard and mouse control actually work just fine with this.
Yeah,
I also really
from
like.
From far away, the guy looks like he tried to do a Scorpion cosplay, but got the colors wrong.
Sadly, we don't have like a grappling hook attack, although I wish we did. Later on, we get a fucking laser beam, so that's gonna be neat. The composer is a person that has worked with Housemarque ever since their beginning, if I recall correctly, or at least for a long time. Ari Pulkkinen, Finnish, but also worked on the Trine games. You need to know. Also apparently on Angry Birds. Also apparently Angry Birds. So this is the composer of Angry Birds. Good to know. Also, we unlocked the slide. This is something that Strider 2014 also would kinda take inspiration from, in having the slide being unlocked as one of the first upgrades. But yeah, that's the main bulk of the game. You will need to avoid this kind of laser-style traps, traverse through these imponent levels, and kill these enemies with your sword, until you reach the next set of upgrades. Keep going, defeat the bosses, and soon enough you will find the sisters and you'll be able to defeat her. Again, it's pretty simple, and again, for a budgeted titles, this is pretty neat, honestly. They play also with the concept a bit in terms of gameplay, since you have to use your wall jumps, time your wall jumps correctly in order to avoid some particular traps. Later on will be platforms that are timed in specific ways, and when you actually get the contrast of light and shadow magic, you will have also to time it correctly if you want to actually survive these traps. So again, it's easy to learn, but difficult to master on the long run, which is, again, pretty neat. You know, having only one, having a set difficulty, not having a real difficulty slider, if I recall correctly, it's also very balanced in order to, you know, not alienate too much the player.
So basically, it seems like it seems like Housemark over the years has been trying to make a self-imposed challenge. How many genres can we apply our arcade sensibilities to?
Pretty much. Honestly, I really
like Returnal. This seems to have schmoovement.
Again, honestly, I really enjoy this, and I kind of wouldn't mind the fact that if Housemark did a couple of more, at least similarly, not necessarily a sequel. The story kind of ends with a bit of a sequel hook, mind you, but even if it's not a sequel, but like more a spiritual successor of some kind, I wouldn't really mind. Something, again, smaller in scale, budgeted, that gets released, you know, and doesn't take too much development from the studio.
Is this studio owned by Sony now? Or?
No, actually, not yet. But they are in good relationships. Actually,
Right, they've been in good relationships with Sony for a while. They've released the Super Studded HD exclusively on the PS3. They were the first ones to release a major digital-only game on the PS4 with Resogun on launch day.
they also did the Dead Nation on the PS3. I remember, but I haven't ever played it, so I don't know how that is.
Me neither. And now for the first time, they're actually working with PlayStation Studios for their first major AAA game. So who knows if that goes well? Eventually, they might become the new Insomniac. Yes, eventually, probably.
All right, now it's time to have a taste of power, in a sense that we will experience a flashback from 30,000 years ago of the original world, the one who sealed the sisters.
Let his spirits, dark and light, arm you in this final battle.
Is this a checklist?
And yes, now you have a taste of how you switch between powers with the L1 and R1 buttons. Again, Light Magic Blue, Shadow Magic Red, pretty easy. Also very some minor blur, but again, it's pretty neat in how this is constructed, in its simplicity, mind you. It never gets to a point where it becomes super annoying, you know, but it's just enough to keep you engaged. There you go, Spirit Energy. For example, here's an example. Depending on the type of magic that you have, the stance that you have at that moment, you'll be able to use one of those platforms. So timing your...
Oh god, Jova is Crash 4 all over again.
So timing your jumps correctly, like so, there you go, allows you to do that. And if you're the same color as the jets, you'll be able to absorb that energy. You don't actually refill your health because of that. That's a bit of a waste of opportunity, if you ask me. But you'll be completely unscathed by it. So it's a matter of switching at the right time. And sometimes some obstacle course will have you actually have to, you know, run from the challenge. Meaning that you have to be, you know, have quick thinking in how you switch between the stances. For enemies, it works a bit differently. You have to be the opposite color of what they are. So if an enemy is blue, use red, and vice versa. The pots contain mostly coins. I think they're called doblones, of course. They serve mostly to unlock, if I recall correctly, concept arts. I mean, actually don't really show it. But instead, the mask will be your main collectible of the game, and if you collect all of them, you'll get a neat surprise that I will show at the end. Well, near the end. You kind of really need it for the final boss, to be honest.
A mask, huh? So Jim Carrey?
No, not this one.
Probably more of a relationship to Dio.
This is not even
so
a stone mask.
JoJo.
Oh, but to be fair, Jova, this is South America, not Central America. Apparently, the Pillar Men were mostly present in Mexico.
Also, yeah, Dads, I do.
I didn't know that.
Don't worry, Shiri is also being initiated. Soon enough, we'll get waves to watch it too.
Now, can you try to convince Marcos to watch it, please?
Wait. You gonna convince me to do what?
Watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay.
It's a good show.
Don't worry. Don't worry, Dweebs, all in due time. But yeah, that's pretty much
That's
the...
not one owned by Warner Brothers.
I don't know who was the Western rights distribution. Sorry.
Viz,
Okay.
since they're the ones handling the dub.
Cool.
Wow,
Enemies,
really
the enemy variety is also pretty, you know, not completely big, but you know, fair enough. You have your standard flying enemies, the spiders, some hedgehogs too. And then you will get later on. You will get also humanoid enemies. Again, it's also fit for the budgeted title of the setting of the game. It's not too much, but it's not too little either. I've seen far worse, games that had a much bigger budget and we wasted it. All right, this is where things get a bit interesting because now things get mixed. So you have to time correctly the type of magic stance that you want to have at the right moment. Aside from Ikaruga, another game that kind of does like that is Mushi Hime-sama. So again, there is that component from Space Shooter, which is, again, super pretty neat, adapted to a genre that has barely anything to do with that.
Yeah, again, I get the feeling this is Housemarque's own internal self-imposed challenge. How many genres can they apply this sensibility to?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
You seem
Snake
to be
Eater
really a
joke.
fan of them, Pedro.
Oh, I love Resogun. That's one of the more underrated PS4 games, if you ask me.
I still have to try some of their other games, so yeah, maybe I'll give a Resogun a try when it gets on sale.
Superstar Dust HG is also really good. You can get it on the PS3 as well.
And there are the sisters.
Yep.
Hey,
So yeah, that's pretty imposing, but like I said, that was only a taste of power. We'll actually get to deal with the sisters soon enough. Instead, now we have to trace back the magic sources, in order to...
The hero's journey ends
In case you're wondering, I don't know who's the voice actor, who is the narrator.
And you awake.
okay. Let me see if it's got it behind the
Surely
Doctor's page.
it was a dream.
Sure. Cool story, bro. So yeah, in the next part, we'll try to get the light magic, actually. So see you for that.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.